Hello, I'm Brian Mittman.
And I'm Michael Monheit.
And we're here with ZofranLegal.com. Thank you for joining us today. Michael and I have created Zofran Legal to help you, the parents out in the world that have unfortunately had the greatest thing in the world, a newborn baby, unfortunately be born with a birth defect. Michael and I both have personal experiences dealing with birth defects and our own children. Between the two of us, we have 8 children, and that leads to a lot of challenges. However, as lawyers, we also have the opportunity to try to help people. We have created a series of videos to help you, the parents of a newborn or maybe a toddler or a young child, understand why your child may have been born with a various birth defect as a result of taking certain types of medication. So what I'm going to do today is interview Michael a little bit, since he is very well versed in this area, and try to help you understand what is going on. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us. So Michael, a lot of people might be at home and they see the TV, and there's always these lawyer commercials about taking a certain type of drug. In fact, there's a drug called Zofran, which unfortunately has started popping up on TV and the internet everywhere because there seems to be a problem with it. What is Zofran quickly, and why would attorneys be advertising for it?
Zofran is an antiemetic drug. It's given for nausea. It was approved by the FDA, but only for 2 purposes: to be given to patients undergoing chemotherapy and radiation therapy because of their nausea, and in certain situations after somebody's had surgery. Okay. Unfortunately, without any clinical data or testing with regard to pregnancy, the manufacturer of this drug, GlaxoSmithKline, began to promote this off-label, and I can explain what that means, but promote it off-label to OB/GYN doctors to be given to patients for morning sickness.
So if I understand you correctly, this anti-nausea, anti-vomiting drug basically was created for people who are undergoing chemotherapy and some serious surgeries, and instead they were giving it to women when they had morning sickness.
That's right.
Doesn't sound like too big of a deal, but why is it such a big deal?
Well, the problem is that there are a number of studies that have come out since the mid-1990s, and these studies are showing that there's an increased risk of birth defects, two birth defects in particular, one involving cleft palate and the other involving heart birth defects.
So as a result of taking this medication, women are giving birth to children with certain birth defects, heart as well as cleft lip and cleft palate types of conditions.
That's right. There's been more than a doubling of the birth defects involving both cleft and involving heart birth defects. And in fact, one of the heart birth defects, which involves ASD and VSD, atrial septal defects and ventricle septal defects, those birth defects in one of the studies were shown to be 4 times more likely if a mother was taking Zofran during the first trimester.
Wow, that's amazing. In terms of this medication and these conditions, why would somebody be looking to hire an attorney just because they took a medication that the doctor told them, hey, take this medication, it's going to help you with morning sickness? And unfortunately, there's always a risk. So why would somebody actually be even looking for an attorney?
Well, in the case of the heart birth defects and the cleft palate birth defects, because there's more than a doubling of the risk, it means that if a child is born with one of those birth defects, that the most likely cause was this medication.
Wow, it just kind of blows my mind. And as we spoke, both Michael and I are attorneys. As we discussed why we would get involved in all this, I was absolutely dumbfounded that there's this medication that's been out there for what, almost 20 years now? 15 years?
Zofran first was studied in the 1980s, and it came to market in the 1990s. And it became generic in 2006.
Okay. Before we get to that, because there are going to be questions about the difference between the regular drug and the generic drug, if a person has a child with birth defects, particularly this cleft lip, cleft palate, one of these heart type of conditions. What is a parent supposed to do? Because how do you prove it, or what's the process? What would somebody be doing?
Well, the cases are proven through epidemiology, through large population studies that have been conducted, which show an increased risk as a result of taking this medication during the first trimester. So if in a normal population, if we expected to see, I'm just using these numbers as an example, 1 out of 1,000 child's born with a cleft palate, but after being on this medication, more than 2 out of 1,000 are being born, then we know that it's more likely that the child born with this birth defect, that it was caused by the medication.